Every age tells its story through power and through the rare minds that dare to understand it. Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power. Tonight, we dive into the first 3 laws. Greene distilled 3,000 years of strategy, war, and politics into one brutal truth: power is not demonstrated, it is carefully managed. These first 3 laws are not about how to win, they are about how to not be eliminated. Law 1, never outshine the master. Visible brilliance threatens those above you. Shine upward, not outward. Law 2, never trust friends too much, use your enemies. A converted enemy is often more loyal than a comfortable friend. Law 3, conceal your intentions. The unreadable player cannot be preempted. Ambiguity is not deception, it is defense. Tonight, we listen to 2 voices, not to decide who is right, but to see more clearly what truly is.
There's a mechanism at work that most talented people never see until it's too late. The moment your competence visibly exceeds your superiors, you stop being an asset and become a threat. Robert Greene wasn't writing philosophy. He was mapping observable behavior in every court, boardroom, and institution in history. The brilliant subordinate who shines too openly triggers something primal in the one above, the fear of replacement.
And yet, what is the one who fears replacement, but a reed cut from the reed bed, clutching the shape of its hollow? The superior trembles not because of you, but because they have forgotten the source. Their fear is the cry of separation. You are right about the mechanism, brother, but notice, both the threat and the threatened are asleep to the same truth.
This is where most people get the lesson wrong. Dimming your light is not self-betrayal, it's geometry. You are deciding the angle of illumination. The master craftsman does not display every tool on the first day. Visibility is a currency. Spend it when the rate is in your favor, not because the moment demands it. Strategic invisibility is long-game architecture.
I hear you, and I would only ask, who is the one hiding? If the self you conceal is itself a construction, a role you rehearsed before you knew who you were, then what exactly are you protecting? Perhaps the deepest invisibility is not hiding your light from others. It is dissolving the one who believes the light is his.
Law 2 is the most psychologically honest of Greene's early laws. Friendship inside a power structure introduces a specific toxin: proximity. The closer someone is to your life, the more surface area they have to compare. Comparison catalyzes resentment, and resentment, given time and pressure, becomes betrayal. Not because your friend is a bad person, but because the structure makes betrayal the rational move.
Rumi wrote, "The fire of love, when it rises, burns away everything except the beloved." Envy is love that has lost its direction. It reached for union and found only comparison. Your friend who betrays you is not an enemy. They are a soul that looked at your light and saw only the distance between you. The wound they inflict is the wound of forgetting we are the same flame.
A converted adversary is one of the most reliable assets in any strategic context. They carry 2 motivations simultaneously: gratitude for the second chance and terror of returning to your opposite side. They have skin in the game that a comfortable ally never does. The friend expects your generosity. The former enemy earns it and knows it.
This is beautiful, brother, and true on its own level, but notice what you've described. 2 people bound by debt, fear, and calculation. Is that not the very structure of the ego world? What if the deepest alliance requires none of it? No debt, no history of enmity, only the recognition that we never were 2 in the first place. Beyond friend and enemy, there is a field. Rumi knew it. You sense it, even now.
Law 3 is perhaps the most misunderstood. People read it as a license to lie. It is not. It is a recognition that those who can be read can be preempted. Ambiguity is not deception, it is defense. The smokescreen does not fabricate a false target. It simply denies the opponent a real one. In a world where information asymmetry determines outcomes, the unreadable player holds the structural advantage.
And here the mystic agrees with you almost completely, and from a stranger direction. The sages say, the Tao that can be named is not the eternal Tao. The divine is unknowable not as a strategy, but as its deepest nature. Perhaps your smokescreen is a pale reflection of something cosmic. The source conceals itself in multiplicity so that the seeker must truly seek. God is the original hidden intention, and the universe is the misdirection.
Radical transparency is powerful, precisely when it is chosen and timed. A deliberate confession, a strategic vulnerability, a calculated truth revealed at the right moment. These are not weaknesses. They are controlled demolitions that build trust. The danger is the person who is transparent by default, who has no filter between inner state and outer expression. That is not honesty. That is simply no defense.
You speak of transparency as a tool in the hands of a self. I speak of something else, a transparency so complete that there is no self remaining to be transparent about. This is what the Sufi masters called fana, annihilation. Not the strategic reveal, but the total dissolution. In that state, there is no concealment, because there is no concealer. Strange. Is that the ultimate power move, or the end of the game entirely?
This is the shadow side of Green's framework that he barely acknowledges. Sustained performance has a cost. If you spend enough years projecting a crafted image, concealing intent, managing impressions, playing the long game, the line between the strategist and the strategy begins to blur. I have seen people who played the role so well they forgot it was a role. That is not power. That is capture by your own apparatus.
Now you are close to the fire, brother. What you've described, the mask consuming the face, this is the oldest spiritual warning. Every tradition calls it by a different name. Maya, ego crystallization, the false self. And every tradition says the same thing. You cannot remove the mask by wearing a better one. You can only sit in the silence long enough for the wearer to be seen, and seen through.
I will grant you this. The deeper you go into the mechanics of power, the more you encounter something unsettling. The players believe they are moving the pieces, but observe the long arc of history. The same patterns repeat across centuries, cultures, and individuals. Problem, reaction, solution, order out of chaos. It begins to feel less like individual agency and more like a recurring program. Someone, or something, seems to be running a script.
Yes, and here we meet. The player who sees the script is no longer fully captured by it. This is the beginning of awakening, not enlightenment, but the first crack of light. You see the game because part of you is already outside it. Ramana Maharshi asked only one question his entire life. Who am I? Not what do I want, not how do I win, who is the one playing? That question, taken seriously, ends the game. Or rather, it reveals the game was always just the dreaming of the one awareness.
The crowd is not a collection of individuals. It is a psychological organism with its own logic, and that logic is not rational. Herd behavior explains why crowds worship and destroys the same figure. The genius elevated becomes the scapegoat. The crowd needs the extraordinary to confirm its own ordinariness, and then needs to destroy it to confirm its own power. This is not cynicism. This is crowd psychology. Gustave Le Bon understood it in 1895. It has not changed.
The crowd destroys what it cannot integrate. And what can it not integrate? Its own depth. The prophet, the poet, the mystic, they carry light the crowd has buried in itself. When they see it reflected in another, they feel the unbearable gap. The destruction is a failed embrace. Every stone thrown at the saint is the crowd's unconscious cry. Why can you bear what we cannot? The shadow of the collective is the unlived life of a million individuals.
I have thought about this more than I usually admit. Green gives you the tools to play, but what he doesn't, perhaps can't, address is whether playing well is the same as playing wisely. The most dangerous position in any power structure is not the weakest position. It is the one who sees the entire board clearly and still must decide, do I play or do I walk away? And if I walk away, where exactly do I go?
You walk away from the board, and you find you are the table it rests on. You are the room. You were never a piece. This is what every genuine tradition points to, not the winning move, but the recognition that the one who wanted to win was itself a construction. The question is not how do I get off the board? The question is, did I ever land on it?
You've heard both sides. What remains is not said.